want to welcome all of you to the Center by SIDIS. It's the newest entrepreneurship center in the Louisville area. I think many of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Grace Simrall. I'm the Chief of Civic Innovation and Technology for Louisville Metro Government. I also am a board member of SIDIS, I'm a very proud board member. And in a previous role, I was an entrepreneur. I was part of this community. And I think when I stand in this space, having stood in this space 2 years ago and seeing what state it was in, what a dream come true. Entrepreneurs in our ecosystem have been talking for years, maybe even decades, about how necessary it was for us to have a space of our own. And so for us to be here today, to celebrate the Center by SIDIS, again, I think we are just at the precipice, at the beginning of what is to come when you have a space like this dedicated for entrepreneurship, dedicated to create the kind of creative collisions that we know takes innovation to the next level. And so as an entrepreneur serving in this position, I couldn't be more pleased about the opening of the space. I want to welcome our Mayor Greg Fischer to the stage. As you know, the mayor is an entrepreneur unto himself, and so he is also just so pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Good. Well, you're looking good, I must say. Yes, so I'm an entrepreneur that just happens to be mayor. So this official opening means a lot to me in terms of how we look at the city. And as I look around at this room, many entrepreneurs in here nodding their heads. Entrepreneurship is an evolution. It's ever changing. It's ever changing in terms of its relationship with the city and with buildings. But what is important, and what Grace spoke about, is community and being able to point to a space that has that kind of energy and vitality and creativity that when you come here, you're not quite sure what might happen during the day. And you can't plan these type of serendipitous occasions. It could be somebody from our city, it could be somebody from halfway across the world, but this space has brought us together to create and innovate and disrupt. And so it's important that we have spaces like this here in our community. Our community's got a lot of good momentum right now, but a community is only going to be as good as the strength of its entrepreneurship community as well. Because we have to be a place where people can say, I can realize my full human potential in the city of Louisville. So you have to have a broad suite of services, availability, building types. So when people say here, it's like, this is as good as any place in the world. Why do I need to go to the rat race somewhere else? Nobody wants to be a rat. I want to have a quality of life, and you can have that here in our city. So the Center by SIDIS just represents a great step forward for us as a community. I also take a look at it, Nigel, from a built environment perspective, to see what's happened in this Nulu area of our town, from Market Street, East Main Street, what I call that area over there, I call that Bulu. That's where Butchertown and Nulu come together. That's Bulu. The soccer stadium district, and to think how we flow now, from the river, through downtown, through Bulu, through Butchertown, through Nulu, through the Health Sciences Center, through Shelby Park, Smoketown, on into Phoenix Hill, the Highlands, et cetera. That's as good a run as you're going to find anywhere in the country in terms of availability of authentic built environment. And so what this center has done to take this old building that was more than a small project and bring it into this 21st century hub of activity and technology inside and outside just really fits so well with the built environment strategy. And we just are so thankful to entrepreneurs that step up and are ready to make an investment like this, both on the outside and the inside. So I want to thank Grace Simrall as well for the work that she does. She's the best. We created the concept of a civic innovation officer for the country. Now almost every city and most every state has a chief civic innovation officer, and Grace is the best in the business. So I appreciate what you dedicate to our city. Let's hear it for Grace Simrall here. The work of Grace and our economic development team, Louisville Forward, led by Mary Ellen Weiderwall and Eric Burnett, is in here. When we were last in this space was when Microsoft announced the selection of Louisville as their hub for artificial intelligence, data science, IoT, so that we can be ahead of the curve when it comes to these areas of study with a strong partner like Microsoft here, with IBM at the University of Louisville. There will be others coming as well. So that's kind of the vibe of what's taking place in our city, and the center will be right at the middle of that. Kent Oler, I want to thank you for all the work that you've done, another great entrepreneur in our city. And this building would not have happened without PNC's effort as well. We're going to be hearing more about that as well. Chuck Denny has been a lifelong supporter of entrepreneurship, and the benchmarking you've done around the country and the challenges that you bring back to the city are a very important part of our entrepreneurial journey. So I appreciate you very much, Chuck, as well. But then a special thanks to the team here at SIDIS Global, and they're led by Nigel Ferry. Nigel, without your business smarts and affection for our city and savvy to get a project like this done, it would not have happened. So you've been just a great, great contributor to our city in a lot of different ways, not just with this building, but with some great companies as well. And when you look at cities that are on the move, they have people like Nigel Ferry right in the middle of all those. So I want to thank you for all the wonderful work that you've done. And I want to do something that I don't do very often. I would like to present a key to our city for you, for all the wonderful contributions that you've made to our great city of Louisville. So Nigel, come on up here so I can give you a key to the city.
Thank you, Mayor Fischer, for being here and for supporting our entrepreneurial community. We know you have a really busy schedule and appreciate you taking the time for this important occasion. Let's give Mayor Fischer one more round of applause. Now, for those of you I haven't met, I'm Patrick Henshaw. I'm the CEO of LEAP. LEAP is a public-private partnership that aims to amplify the greater Louisville region's entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem. There are so many incredible startups, both in our region and that we want to move to our region, and we help them grow by connecting them to meaningful resources, both inside our own community and outside our region, even to the ends of the globe, to take their business to the next level. Our goal is to create an inclusive and thriving innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem, and how we do that is by galvanizing our active network to provide diverse programming for entrepreneurs, access to talent, customers, and capital. As the density grows here in our ecosystem, it is incredibly important for the community to have access to spaces that create culture and those collisions that the mayor was talking about. For example, if you look to your left and your right now, chances are you've probably ran into one of the folks that have already been in this building. I know for a fact that in the past few months while we've been here, we've had over $100 million worth of venture capital walk through this building and walk through this space. Now, while you're likely familiar with Story Louisville, a popular and beautiful, I might add, co-working space, you might be wondering, who is SIDIS? Well, SIDIS is a global, privately held company that is purpose-driven, that invests in and manages market-leading life science companies. They're the reason we're all here today, and they had the dream and the strategic vision to make this space many moons ago. We're thrilled SIDIS is a part of our ecosystem, and we extend our warmest welcome to their team. Next, you'll hear from Nigel Ferry, Chairman and CEO of SIDIS, in just a few moments. But before we do, I'd like to take an opportunity to formally introduce him. Prior to starting SIDIS, Nigel had a number of senior management positions, both in private and public companies. Previous notable roles were president of Han Industries, a Fortune 500 company, where he managed the financial turnaround of Corey Jamestown and its merger with another Han division, Hybrid. And subsequently, he was the CEO of Cytomation. Nigel developed Cytomation for 12 years, from a virtual startup in flow cytometry industry to a consistently growing and profitable business, and on to a successful merger and privately held Danish life science company in 2002. As you can tell, Nigel has global reach and global experience. And without further ado, I'd like you to introduce our friend, Nigel Ferry, Chairman and CEO of SIDIS, and the driving force behind this project.
These are pretty tough acts to follow, wouldn't you say? I noticed the mayor spoke without looking down once. Must have a memory. Patrick, nice words. Hopefully well earned. Thank you all for being here today. It is my sincere honor and pleasure to welcome you to this very special event. Before we get going, I'd like to have a shout out to just a few people. Mayor Fischer, and this I wrote before you said the nice things you said. Ken Euler, a fellow I've known for quite a long time, 2 days. Patrick Henshaw, a force to working with, and he rides motorcycles, that's good. And he's with LEAP. Grace Simral, there she is. Natalia Bishop, who, by the way, you have to go to the second floor. Our third floor is nice, hers is nicer, but it's in our building, so we claim it. And Grace is our latest board member. She already mentioned that, but I thought I'd repeat it. That's pretty important. So an applause for the people who have gone here so far. So it's not difficult to look back 15 years when I was sitting in Fort Collins, Colorado, a little town north of Denver, just having been let go from the company that I had built and created $300 million worth of value, blank sheet of paper, and I was saying, I'm going to start a new company. And we started SIDIS. And I wanted to build a different kind of company. I think we've mostly succeeded. A company focused on people first. Everything about our company is about people first. You know, I'd built technology businesses before. I'd seen companies succeed in spite of themselves before, and I thought if we just did things a little differently, we could make a difference. And 15 years have gone by like that. So in 2008, we expanded our Colorado operation, and by the way, the CEO of our Colorado operation is here. Tidar, where are you? Tidar, there he is. Tidar is the CEO of our Colorado operation, and if it wasn't for his success, we wouldn't have Colorado money to spend in Kentucky. So thank you, Tidar. Yeah. I used to be Canadian. They used to say all the Ontario money went to Newfoundland, you know. I hope we're not the Newfoundland of America. So we started, we came across the river in 2008. We were in a place called Ohio, and we then got building our Kentucky operation there. We opened our first entrepreneurial center in 2009. That's a decade ago. It just feels like yesterday we were cutting a ribbon. The governor at the time came and cut the ribbon with us. He was very, very nice, said some nice things, and that's a beautiful center as well, but only half as nice and half as big as this one. More recently, we moved our corporate headquarters of our newly merged life science business, Lifelines Neuro, that was founded by Simon Griffin. Would you stand up, please, or put your hand up? Simon. He's another American who was born in the UK, but he actually has the accent, so it sounds more legitimate. But Simon is now our partner at SIDIS and very good. So from technology businesses to investments in real estate, by the way, I said we'd never be in real estate, but then 2008 happened and you had to be in real estate, to bold ideas, transformative innovation, we've really built something pretty exciting. And it's happened in a flash. It's just happened by one foot in front of the other. So today we celebrate the 3-year culmination of a project. Probably we should have bulldozed the space. But Dan Levy had been here. Dan, were you here somewhere? Where's Dan? Right there. Dan, he had a bounce in his step. He'd bought this building. He'd done some of the remediation. And I said, you know what, we'll take it the next step. So instead of bulldozing it, we continued building it. And we built into something with 21st century technology. By the way, this building was built in 1865. And for those of you with historical interest, that was 2 years before Canada was confederated. That's a long time ago. In this building, we have 2 of our businesses. Mayor Fischer referred to them. One is Lifelines Neuro, doing the best neurological devices on the planet, and also Adaptive Endo, creating a novel endoscope. Both will be changing on a global basis, and they're headquartered right here in Louisville. By the way, the building is fully leased, so the board is all here except for one Louisvillian who's back at Harvard. The building is fully leased, and it's just getting ribbon cutting today. How often does that happen? Well, that happens because a lot of people work really hard. Brian Errett, Brian, without your self-destruction of body, where's Brian? Where are you, Brian? He murdered himself in the process, yeah. So for those of you that I hope will attend our first foundation fundraiser tonight, and for those of you that aren't Baptist or Mormons, I would suggest you stand up at the bars that Brian built overnight. They're marble topped, and I'm sure the bourbon will flow rather well. Brian, thank you for another jumping through a hoop. There's many more stories like that. I could bore everybody. So we've hosted many events. Patrick made reference to that. There's over 24 official events been here. Some people actually paid for being here, we like that part too. And I think it's going to be a center for a long time to come. It was really the inspiration of Galen Powers. Where's Galen? Galen? Yeah, Galen's been in this community a long time, yeah. Shout out for Galen. I'll tell you a very quick story because I know the mayor's got a schedule even tighter than mine. I said to Galen, when are you going back to California where you're from? He said, no, I got grandchildren, I'm staying here. I said, okay, go find a business. So we found Mobile MedTech, and we created something there. We've now merged it with Lifelines. We've got now Lifelines Neuro, and life goes on. So Galen had the vision. Brian had the craziness and the brawn. And then, of course, Chuck Denny. He was already mentioned once today. But I made a very simple deal. I said, I'm not signing personally for the bank loan in this building. It looks like it should be bulldozed. And Chuck gave us a bank loan without Nigel's personal guarantee. I promised Don we wouldn't spend more than $1 million as our treasurer. And we were under that number, just barely. And away we go. So Dan, what do you think? Not bad? Okay. So now a few thanks. This renovation would not have been possible without the support of a lot of people. I've already mentioned Galen, and I've mentioned Brian, I've mentioned Dan, I've mentioned Chuck. These are people that all had to come together, buy the vision, and get on the program. I'd also like to thank the SIDIS board members, because they do have to support the crazy ideas I come up with, and it's nice to tell them, again, it's fully leased. And also the other people in SIDIS that bring out the best in me every day to go and do. I'm 69 years old. I should have been retired 4 years ago. But I got 20 to go, so don't be counting the days. And lastly, this team of SIDIS folks that have just helped build this business. It's amazing. I'm really motivated by that. So I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I hope this is a place where you can find the inspiration that the mayor talked about. I find it here. I don't like the fact I moved from Manhattan to here and I feel I'm going down market. So we've got to fix that, Charles. We've got to fix that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ken Euler to come and say a few words, and I hope I didn't go past by 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nigel. I'm to paraphrase the mayor, I am an entrepreneur who just happens to run the Chamber of Commerce. So, and I know Greg and I were entrepreneurs in the same group together years ago. And, we both had dark hair back then, right? This is a fantastic day. This vision that's resulted in this center and a home for entrepreneurs is just something that's been floating around our community for many, many years. So to stand here in front of you and in a moment cut a ribbon on this building is just a true dream come true. Projects like this are critical for entrepreneurship. You have to create density, collisions, a home, a place where they can gather, where entrepreneurs can gather, share ideas, and share, a little bit of pain too. So now we have that. We have the wonderful co-working space down on the second floor. We've got this great event space where there's a nice event tonight. I've been in several events here already. It is a fantastic space that we'll enjoy the outside also, is a home for us. So for those of us who are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs or love entrepreneurs, this is your house. So thank you, Nigel, so much and your board for funding this. I want to tell a little bit of the story, though, about how it came to be, because this didn't always exist, of course, and in fact, the vision did not always exist. About 4.5 years ago, Lisa Bajornis, who's here, worked for GLI, and she had a vision But she didn't. She went out and secured a $40,000 grant from a foundation, and they went out and studied entrepreneur centers all over the country. And they actually, on paper, designed kind of what we're standing in here, taking the best practices from all of these entrepreneur centers that you visit in Cincinnati, Nashville, Chicago, I think Philadelphia, Denver, all over the place. And we came back and said, this is great. We just need about $7 million to build it. So we kind of morphed it over into a virtual system. But Galen Powers came in as board chair of the Enterprise Corp. And in the discussions with the board, he said, well, I think we can do better than that. And maybe I've got a group that can put this thing together. And he went out and convinced them. I don't know what he told you to convince you, because it was risky when he did it. Doesn't seem as risky today when it's built. But convinced you to step up and build this place. So here we stand today. And I want to thank Lisa for her vision, her team's vision, Nigel for making it real, Chuck for took a big risk of taking the funding for that, and there's been stories in the paper about it, but it is now a realization, so thank you very much. We are already gathering visits, by the way, from other cities that want to come and look at this place. We had Fort Wayne, it was in here a few weeks ago. They like this place. Other people from out of town are coming and saying, look what they've done in Louisville. Look what they've done in Louisville. So while we, 4 years ago, went out and studied what they were doing around the country, now best practices are right here in town, right in this building. So that's a very exciting place to be. And with that, I want to say one last thank you, Nigel, SIDIS, for doing this. I get applause for you guys. I'd like to call up for the, they let me speak last because I brought the ribbons and the scissors. I'd like to call up on the stage Brian Arrett, Dan Dunleavy, Chuck Denny, Grace Simmer, come on up, Nigel, Patrick, Mayor Fischer. Lisa, would you come up too? We'll do an official ribbon cutting here. Whoa. Hey.